On behalf of the faculty at Arkansas State University, congratulations on your achievement. I want to begin by recognizing your hard work over the last several years. I know that many of you worked part-time jobs, sometimes 2 jobs, participated in student clubs, did volunteer work, took care of children, or took care of family, all while completing your coursework. Some of you had 2 majors. Some of you traveled long distances every day. Some of you completed your education in a non-native language. You will face challenges in the future. I hope you can gain confidence from your experience here. You met this challenge, and you will be able to meet the next challenge you face. I was asked to give you advice about your next steps as a college graduate, and my aim today is to say something helpful or enlightening. I want to begin by having you think about what it is that you've achieved. A diploma? A piece of paper? Sure. But a diploma is just a symbol, a representation of your achievement. What you've achieved, what you've gained over the last several years, are tools for thinking about the world. This is my first piece of advice for you. Use the tools you've acquired in your education. Forgive this clunky metaphor. Think of your university education as the ultimate Swiss Army knife for thinking about the world. Whatever situation you find yourself in, you have a tool for the job. Philosophy, history, economics, psychology, literature, science, mathematics, and so on. Now, I'm a philosopher, and the way philosophy works is that we give arguments and make claims, then respond to objections and criticism. I'll give an objection on your behalf. Perhaps you're now thinking, okay, Dr. Caton, this is obvious advice. Of course I'm going to use my education. How could I not, you might say. But I'm here to tell you it will be more difficult than you think. Remember, I'm not talking just about the skills you've gained from your major. I'm talking about how to think in general. It turns out it's easy to fall back on old habits of thinking, to let custom, societal pressures, peer pressures, advertisers, etc. shape our thoughts. Side note, these are related to some of the fallacies we teach in our logic class. It turns out it's easy to let our gut do the thinking and not our big brains, often to our detriment. I'll spare you the anthropology/history/cognitive science lecture, but a formal education, what you've received here at Arkansas State University, is one of the most unusual things you can do to your cognitive system. For now, note that you must be vigilant to continue using the tools you've acquired in your education. And when I say use the tools you've acquired here, I mean for all occasions. You might not have considered this. Your education is not just useful for gainful employment, although it's certainly useful for this. Your education is for you as a citizen, a neighbor, a friend, a parent, a human living a life. There are obvious examples. You may be asked to serve on a jury one day, deciding whether to take away a person's freedom. This is an awesome responsibility. Use your skills of critical thinking to analyze the prosecutor's arguments. Use your skills from history and sociology to understand the context. And use your skills from science to make sense of the evidence. And there are more mundane examples. You think about your career. Should you try to make as much money as possible? Or should you lead a life helping people if that means making less? You think about what to do with your free time. Should you go to the beach, or should you volunteer at Habitat for Humanity? You think about how to spend your money. Should you buy a fancy car, or should you donate some of your earnings? You're about to face countless challenges and problems, some big, some small. Use the tools of history, philosophy, science, mathematics, etc. to solve these problems. Let me remind you of some of the tools you now have, and this list is incomplete. Philosophy, the tools of critical thinking and the analysis of arguments. Literature, writing, communication, the tools to clearly express your thoughts to others and to understand the experience of others. History, the tools to see how the past shapes and helps us understand the present. Business, economics, psychology, and sociology, the tools to see how human behavior works. Science, the tools to understand the causal underpinnings of the world. Here's my second piece of advice for you. Take some time today, tomorrow, or soon to reflect on the overall lessons your professors tried to instill in you. Not what was on the syllabus, but why the syllabus was the way it was. the structure of your education. You have the tools for thinking, but you should also think about the tools you have for thinking. Ask yourself, how are my professors trying to shape my thinking? What was their goal for me? What is it to think like a philosopher? What is it to think like a scientist, etc.? In meeting the challenges ahead, sometimes you will need to think like a philosopher. Sometimes you will need to think like a scientist. Sometimes you will need to think like an artist. Now, I want to let you in on an open secret, one we don't often talk about. Your professors don't agree with each other on everything. Take that in for a moment. What this means for you is that it's impossible for you to blindly follow the advice of your professors, since they sometimes disagree. You will have to use your intelligence, your skills, your experience to determine when to use the tools of history, or the tools of philosophy, or the tools of science, and so on. There's no formula to be had here that we know of. This is where your contribution to the world begins. You will use your skills, your judgment, to solve this problem. In closing, I hope your family and friends recognize your hard work over these last several years. Likewise, I hope you remember to thank your family and friends for the support they've given you. My advice today was centered around this idea. I hope you recognize the powerful skills you now have for thinking about the world. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that these tools may be the most valuable things you will ever possess, and I think that's worth celebrating. And I think it's exciting to consider what you will do with them next. Again, I'm happy and honored to tell you, on behalf of your professors and instructors here at Arkansas State University, congratulations on your achievement.
Thank you, Dr. Caton.